All right, hello. It's August 19th, 2021. Welcome to the weather update. And absolutely very humid, extremely uncomfortable day today with the moisture that Fred brought up from the Gulf of Mexico. It was pretty oppressive. Skies are fairly clear right now, though throughout the day we had a lot of clouds around. If we were to look at the Modus satellite, which we'll do right now, you'll see back here all the clouds around that we had in this. You can see right here. This is Fred right here. The remnants of Fred. But this is not going to be an issue for us. We have to now watch for Henri or Henri. I'm sorry, it's going to be hard for me to say. Henri. I know it's a different kind of name to pronounce. But first, before we get to Henri and the other activity going on in the tropics, let's talk about the current conditions out there. It's a muggy night out there. It's still 81 degrees in Carl Place with a dew point of 70. Farmingdale reporting 80 degrees. We got the killer west wind, which is what's making it miserable. No sea breeze. So the air's coming right off New Jersey. 77, dew point of 68 at Islip. And 76 at West Hampton with a dew point of 72. So pretty much dew points around 70. I am seeing a few areas where the dew points are a little lower. Guardia dew point 66. You can still see you got that gusty west wind that we've been dealing with all day long. And you can see here, if you go down into Jersey, it's still even more humid there. 80 in, 76 in downtown Toms River, the dew point is 73. We go further north. The humidity's still high, like in West Orange, 73 with the dew point is 70. So, yeah, we're still in this disgusting air mass. Let's go and look at what the high temperatures were today across the area. And you'll see just how uncomfortable it was today. We had highs in the mid-80s, upper 80s actually, 88 at Farmingdale for a high, 84 for a high at Islip, 89, almost 90 degrees in Carl Place. That's how brutal it was here. Even on the South Shore, mid-80s. You'd have to go a little further out east, 81 at West Hampton. But the humidity very high. Hit 90 at LaGuardia, 88 at JFK, 85 at Central Park. 80, let's see what Newark got up to here. 87, I believe. No, that's Linden Airport. Where's Newark? Newark, 90. So Newark hit 90, of course. And probably Toms River also probably getting up close to 90 as well, probably. 89 at Lakehurst. So, yeah, pretty hot, pretty humid. This is the kind of air mass that Fred has brought in for us. Looking at the National Hurricane Center, which is what we're going to do now. We have had another storm that they might be watching. But right now we have Grace, which is now a tropical storm after crossing over the Yucatan. It's weakened, but it's expected to regain its strength. Henri, which is the one we got to watch here, weakened slightly. It's going through a little bit of slight shear, but that shear will start to go away for tomorrow and should re-strengthen again. 65 mile an hour. And then the remnants of Fred, which are now over, looks like just over northern New England there. So let's start with Grace. Tropical storm Grace, which has weakened to a tropical storm. Latest public advisory on that. Grace beginning to intensify as it moves across the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. And heavy rain will continue tonight over the Yucatan Peninsula. So as of 10 p.m., its location 20.8 north, 91.8 west. About 105 miles northwest of Campeche, Mexico, and about 368 miles east of Tuxpan, Mexico. Maximum sustained winds are 65 miles an hour, moving west at 16 miles an hour. Minimum central pressure 994 millibars at 29.36 inches. If we look at the map, warning cone here map, you'll see here that there are hurricane warnings now in effect for this part of Mexico. So that's where it's going to be heading, and it will become a hurricane again. Let's go take a look at the satellite for Grace. We'll go ahead and we'll look at the infrared. You can see a little disorganized there. Definitely lost a little bit of its energy, but you can see convection starting to flare up once again, and that is a sign of an intensifying storm. It's over those warm western Gulf of Mexico waters, and it will regain its strength. It is tracking due west again due to that very strong high. We'll get into that in a moment. Here are the models, pretty much agreeing on that track there. And All the models also agree this could become a hurricane again. It will become a hurricane again, and it could be a stronger hurricane this time around because it's going to be over even warmer water than it was before it encountered the Yucatan. But of course, the one we're really all watching is Henri. So let's go to the Hurricane Center now and talk about Henri, because this is the one we're really concerned about, obviously, because it is going to be a threat to our area. All right, and the latest public advisory on Henri is it's holding on against shear and maintaining 65 miles an hour winds, so it's getting some shear. And it says here, interests in the northeastern United States should monitor its progress. As of 11 p.m., its location, 29.8 north, 72.3 west, about 415 miles south-southeast of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, about 800 miles south of Nantucket, Massachusetts. Maximum sustained winds are 65 miles an hour, moving west-northwest at 8 miles an hour. Minimum central pressure, 997 millibars. That is 29.44 inches. All right. As of 11 p.m., the center of Tropical Storm Henri was located near. Already read this to you. But the center will on the forecast track, the center of Henri will remain well offshore of the east coast of the United States over the next couple of days, but it is forecast to be near or over southern New England Sunday or Monday. Little change in strength is expected in the next 12 hours, but they are now forecasting it to be intensify starting tomorrow night. All right, tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 90 miles from the center. The storm is not a large storm, which may be a good thing, because at least if it tracks east of our area, you'll see that at least the western part of Long Island will be spared impacts. We've been removed from the cone, but we could be, this cone could again shift again. Right now, it appears the area that is under the gun for this storm is going to be Cape Cod, the Massachusetts and New England Maritimes, and possibly the east end of Long Island. All right, you can see this is the track on the thing right now that they've got. All right. Now, before I get to that, let's talk about what we've been dealing with today. We'll go over some observations just briefly. You can see 80 degrees at Farmingdale right now, still at this hour. It is after 11 o'clock at night. And you can see just a really humid day today with these dew points really high up there. It's really uncomfortable. And it's the kind of air mass we are in. It's not at all pleasant. It's like, and yeah, there's a breeze out there. It's like a breeze out of a sauna. So let's take a look at Henri on the satellite. And it looks a lot. Actually, this thing looks pretty well organized. And I got to say, it's really holding on. And you can clearly see it's got a really good outflow. Really healthy looking storm right here. And I would expect this thing to become a hurricane shortly. I really do. I think within the next, when I speak to you tomorrow night, I think this thing will be a hurricane for sure. I would be very surprised if it's not a hurricane by then. Let's go look at this on the MODIS, the visible satellite loop, or the visible satellite. So this is what it looks like on the visible satellite. And you can see it's a healthy looking storm. Not a well-defined eye, but definitely very healthy looking. It's definitely going to be over these warm waters conditions. Once it loses a little bit of the shear, it's gonna start intensifying. And let's get to these models now, because I know that's what I haven't even looked at the latest 0Z ones. I've looked at the earlier ones, but let's get to it and let's see what's going to happen here first. And I'm going to start with, again, the wind flow at the upper levels of the atmosphere. That's 250 millibars on this GFS here. So you can see what's going to happen. And again, you see this huge ridge here. This huge ridge right here that is just stretching all the way through here. And this is what's keeping, this big ridge right here is what's keeping Grace moving that way, if you can see that. All right, so Grace is moving due west toward, it's moving that way. And Henri right now moving this way. All right, it's almost moving a little west-southwest in my opinion. All right, but when we move this along, you'll see we get this trough that now develops. So this is going to pick up Henri, and it's going to move it northward. But the problem is we have this ridge over here. So the trough's going to move it north, and then maybe northeastward Now, on this particular run, the trough is strong enough that it keeps it east of our area, most of it east of our area. All right. You can see the trough picking it up and putting it in New England, but then it kind of sits there for a little bit. This isn't going to be a fast mover. And, you know, because it's caught in between this ridge over here and the trough. So it's caught at the trough over here, which you clearly see picking it up, moving it northward. And then you have the ridge over here. So it can't move east. So it's in this little spot in this corridor right here. That's moving in. And that's what we need to be concerned about. All right, now, this is the GFS. All right. We can look at another model, which is the NAM 12. Which I have the 0Z NAM 12 now, so you can look at this here. And the NAM is a little different. Look at what it does. It has a stronger ridge, and it actually retrogrades it northwestward, which may be more of a problem for us. So you're getting an idea now of what you're seeing at the upper levels, and you see what's going on with this, again, this weird-looking trough. All right, again, a normal trough. If we had a normal trough, it would just kick this thing out. But because we have a very weak, wavy jet stream, we're not getting those normal troughs. So let me go into the eastern U.S. view, and we are going to now go back to the GFS and look at the surface. And you can see Henri is going to deepen starting tomorrow. And then it makes that right turn, gets picked up tomorrow night, starts moving northward, then northeastward. All right, because the GFS has the trough a little more, kicking it a little more eastward, which is good news for us. All right, good news for us on Long Island. Not such good news for Cape Cod, because if you look here, here's Sunday, and you can see here that Saturday night, Sunday morning, it is now approaching to make a landfall. This could be a Category 1 or Category 2 hurricane, making a landfall, maybe even as strong as a Category 3, making a landfall around Nantucket and the Cape. And this would definitely affect eastern Long Island in the outer circulation of this. All right, the Cape and Nantucket will be destroyed. I mean, this is going to be the worst hurricane they've had in a very long time. On Sunday, you can see it right over the Cape right there. And then it moves northwest. It kind of sits there for a little bit and retrogrades back and then moves away. All right, so you can see all the models doing that because, again, we have this setup in the atmosphere that's going to trap it for a little bit. Right, instead of moving quickly, it's going to move slowly. Now, the argument is, well, it's moving slowly, so maybe it will be over cooler waters for longer, but the waters aren't that cool. And that's the problem, and that's why I don't think it's going to weaken all that much by the time it reaches the Cape. I think it's still going to be a very formidable hurricane. And this is the GFS. So now I'm going to go to the NAM 12. This is the NAM 12. All right. And that GFS, by the way, I think is still the 18Z, but this is the 0Z NAM 12. And this is even deeper now, a much deeper storm. And it takes it much closer to Long Island. This NAM 12 is kind of scary because it takes it much closer to Long Island, has it landfalling around the South Fork, but has Long Island. Now, we are fortunately in the west side of the storm, so the west side of the storm is not the worst part. The worst side is always the right northeast semicircle, but this is still enough to cause some problems: wind damage, power outages, and coastal flooding. And then it kind of backs it up and then has it dying over there has it kind of weakening inland and dumping a lot of rain in central New England there. All right, so the NAM is got a stronger ridge. It's got the trough shaped differently and kind of hooks it back in. Not the same track as Sandy, but the same kind of setup that brought Sandy into the coast is the same kind of setup that we have to watch now. All right. Now, I'm going to go a little closer now. Go to the northeast view here. Well, actually, I want to pull this back to the NAM for a minute because I want to look at the wind field, and then so you get an idea of the wind field. This is the wind field on the NAM, all right? See, the stronger winds are on the right side of the storm. But still, it puts Long Island in some pretty strong winds. All right, this is the NAM. Now we go look at the GFS. with the wind field. And again, we are zoomed out quite a ways, so this is going to make it look like the winds aren't as bad as they actually will be, right? Because when I go closer in, you'll see here the kind of storm that we're dealing with. Very compact storm, by the way, on the GFS. You'll see that. But this is a really good-sized hurricane, a good strength hurricane, but very small, very compact. But where it hits, there will be significant wind damage, flooding, storm surge. I mean, parts of the Cape could go completely underwater, as well as Nantucket, with that kind of storm surge. And this would be very bad also for Boston. This could be this could be Boston's Sandy. I could put it that way. This is the GFS track, all right? And again, timing would be Sunday. All right, now let's go to the NAM, and I'm going to go to the NAM 3. I don't know if the NAM 3 is going to take us far enough out. We'll see. This is the NAM 3, and this is frightening. So this is the NAM 3, and this doesn't go as far as the other model, but this has this thing being, a monster. And it's heading right for Long Island. This is the NAM 3, so let me go move this to the NAM 12. NAM 12 it doesn't show the winds quite as high, but look at that going right over Montauk. And this would absolutely destroy the East End with the eye coming right in there like that. I mean, you'd just have tremendous flooding. It would basically cause a lot of damage. This is like a Hurricane 38 kind of deal. Look how deep that low is. And like I said, this is the NAM 12, which is underestimating the winds. We're going to have to look at some of the other viewers that we have to look at this. But this is very disturbing. Very disturbing. Next thing we can do, go back to the precipitation view and look at the HRRR. And yes, we'll look at the we'll go back to tropical. We'll go back and look at the spaghetti runs too as well. But let me look at the HRRR. All right. Now, as far as tomorrow goes, we have a slight chance of showers, partly sunny. Looks most of the rain is over New Jersey. Saturday will be a similar deal, though. We'll have to see. We may see some of that moisture. We might have that subsidence ahead of the storm, which may actually result in sunshine for Saturday. We'll have to see. This is as far as I got out on the HRRR. All right. Let's get the temperatures and all that stuff out of the way, because honestly, everybody's concerned about Henri, and so am I. So tomorrow, we're going to have mid-80s for temperatures. And then for Saturday, we're going to also probably a little cooler with more of an onshore northeast to east flow with Henri now influencing the winds. All right, dew points, it's going to remain on the humid side tomorrow. We'll probably have dew points a little less, but note that the winds are going to be more westerly tomorrow. So sea breeze won't really kick in until later in the day. The dew points are a little lower tomorrow, but you still see dew points remaining high, and then here comes Henri. All right, and then that really tropical air is going to come in again with Henri. You can see no dry air around, which is another factor. You have no dry air. So dry air sometimes will get in on the west side of these storms, and we're not going to have any dry air around, which again keeps the hurricane at a good intensity. All right. So let's go back to Henri, and let's look at the spaghetti models. There are a number of them now that bring it over Long Island. There are a few that bring it as west as New York City. There's one that brings it right over Riverhead. And then another cluster that brings it over the Cape. So you can see the Hurricane Center really should have included Long Island, the entirety of Long Island in that cone. Because, again, the possibility, we're not out of the woods at all. We are still under the gun. Like I said, I'm very concerned about this. So we're going to look now at some other viewers that we have that we're going to work with. And I'm going to go to windy.com, which, again, is the Euro site, which the Euro is still probably trying to get rid of this thing. Euro's been abysmal with that. I don't know why it's doing that. Forget about the Euro, because the Euro is not... We know the Euro's just had a very bad track record. We're going to look at this we're going to start with the GFS and look at this on the wind field on the GFS here, because I kind of like this site better. It kind of shows the winds a little more, so you can get an idea of what's going to happen here. Here we are at Thursday, 11 p.m. Let's go to 1 p.m. Friday. You can see it's still moving westward. See, strongest winds are on the right side of the storm. But then as you see that shear lift till Friday night, you're going to start seeing those winds become closer to hurricane force. And then I think we're dealing with a hurricane. we are dealing with a hurricane. But this is the GFS, all right? So you're definitely dealing with probably a Category 1 or Category 2 hurricane. And look at how close. This is the GFS, all right? And look at how close. We are going to be dealing with those winds on the east end, all right? Nassau County, not so much. It's the Cape that's going to really be under the gun for this. And you can see here that eye would go right over Nantucket. And you'd get the storm surge in the Cape, and I think a lot of the Cape would be inundated with this kind of setup with the storm surge, all right? And then it would become a problem for Boston with the storm surge. But with this setup, only the eastern tip of Long Island would probably have to deal with the worst of the storm with this setup, all right? Now we go to the NAM. Let's go to the NAM, because the NAM is what's really scary. Look at how much worse the NAM is, folks. And the NAM really strengthens this thing, right? Much more quickly, right? And it already has this thing like a healthy hurricane by tomorrow night. And this is Saturday at 8 a.m. This is as far as I have on the NAM on this one. It only goes out to Saturday night. But this is what we have heading toward Long Island. It's over really good warm water. This is a healthy... This is a Category 3 hurricane that we have south of Long Island. And like I said, this is as far as the NAM goes on this run. Windy doesn't, for whatever reason, doesn't want to have it go any further than this. But this is the NAM. And again, this would be very... I really wish it would go a little further, but it doesn't. But this is a very, very scary looking storm here. And wherever this would hit, if this did do a direct hit on Long Island, this would make Sandy look like a walk in the park. All right? However, that is as far as I have on the NAM on this particular website. For whatever reason, it doesn't want to go any further. Maybe because it's too scared to look. Maybe that's it. Let's go back to some more of these models here, and we're going to now look at the ICON model. All right, so let's go. I got 93 hours of the ICON model to look at. All right, and the ICON is also kind of scary because it takes that westerly hook again right over Long Island. This would be Sunday. All right, look at that, right over the east end of Long Island there. Nassau County would be spared, but the east end would get hit pretty hard. And Suffolk County in general, this is where you'd see some really strong winds. And this is and the ICON's a little quicker. It brings it in Sunday morning. And then it does a loop-de-loop, where it does a loop-de-loop and then loops over our area and then slowly leaves the area on Monday. All right. If we look at the winds on this one, you will see that it does seem to like weaken it pretty quick. So again, the winds wouldn't be that bad in Nassau County and western Suffolk. But I'm not necessarily buying that. I think it's weakening it a little quickly. All right? And certainly Montauk, you're going to be getting into the hurricane force winds in the east end there, and then it kind of pulls on out slowly. But it does this loop-de-loop, and a lot of the models are indicating this loop-de-loop thing because of the setup in the atmosphere that we have. All right? Which, again, is very anomalous. To say the least, it's very anomalous. So that's the ICON model, all right? There are other models we can look at. There's also the HWRF. So we can look at the HWRF, and the HWRF model is a model that is a hurricane model. So it actually follows the storm as it evolves. And the HWRF spares Long Island and basically just hits the Cape, and this would just be a problem for the Cape. All right, we can look at the precip as well on this, and use the precip mode as well. All right, so this is the HWRF. You can see Long Island gets spared at least with the wind part of it. The Cape would be hit very hard. All right, that's the HWRF. All right, that's another model that we have. So we're looking at all these different models here. Let me go back to the GFS because we're going to look at a couple of other parameters here, and I don't want to use the tracking. Let me get it out of that. All right, there we go. I want to go to the northeast. I don't want to use the tracking one. Let's go to the NAM 3. And again, this is the NAM 3, which we know is really scary. That's as far out as I've got on the NAM 3. This is the 0Z run. And this is really, really scary. Alright? And again, this is a really bad situation. This is a really bad situation if this were to occur. Really bad. The kind of situation where you don't even want to be on Long Island kind of situation. Alright? So, let's hope that this is just a... Look at how deep that is. 933. That is insane. Alright? Does this do waves? I'm curious about it. Does this do waves at all? I don't think it does wave height. No, it doesn't do wave height. Alright, so GFS does that. Alright, so I gotta go to the GFS. Gotta find where that is. Wave period. No, not wave period. Wave height. Alright, yeah. Alright, so this is the GFS wave height, and you can see here, Long Island would definitely be dealing with some very rough surf, especially East End. Significant beach erosion and problems in Montauk. As far as the Cape goes, you'd be dealing with a lot worse situation where you'd be getting an inundated, pretty much an inundating storm surge for much of the Cape, Nantucket, the islands area there. All right, Martha's Vineyard. This would be very bad for those places. And you can see here, this is very bad thing. All right, for them, and for us, we'd be dealing with it too. All right, but again, not the same kind of scary scenario that you have with the NAM. Now, I don't know if the ICON gives us this parameter. I don't think it. No, it does not give us that parameter. So let's go back to Windy. And I know this is scary. Let me go to the ICON model now. All right, so this is the ICON model. And the ICON, not as scary for us. It has the most of the wind and the storm surge issues over the Cape, but still, Montauk could be dealing with some strong winds. This is the, but you see what happens? It pushes it back west again. So here we are 8 p.m. Sunday, and now you're getting tropical storm force winds in the eastern part of Suffolk County. As this thing kind of loops back, this is the ICON, and loops it back, does like a whole loop over New England. All right, and again, the East End would be getting hit very hard by this. All right, and there it is as it is moving away. All right, right now for us, nothing that bad. All right. Does this do waves? Does the ICON give a no? I don't think we can get waves. We can get waves with the ICON. So this gives you an idea of the kind of waves you would be getting. Again, this kind of shows you where the storm surge would be. And again, the Cape, you're dealing with waves of 15 feet, 20 feet. This, like I said, this is going to put a good part of the Cape underwater, as well as the Nantucket and the islands with this kind of setup here. All right, so somebody is going to be dealing with a really bad situation Sunday, and then it hits Boston. So this could be, like I said, very devastating to Boston with this kind of track. Not so bad for Long Island, but very devastating for Boston. All right, get the swells. Gives us a swell model as well. Actually, this is now back to the European model, which doesn't even show the storm up, of course, of course, we would all love the European to be right and just get rid of this thing, but we know that's not going to happen. Here's the GFS, by the way. So look at the waves on the GFS. And it's even worse than the GFS, man. So look at that. Out at the ocean, 30-foot waves. Moving this to 8 a.m., and you can see the kind of waves that we would be getting here. 9 foot, 10 feet. And even if we don't get the direct hit and it takes this track over New England, there's going to be significant flooding on the beaches and significant beach erosion. And for Nantucket, here you go with these really bad waves. And again, this is going to just be devastating for Nantucket here, and Boston too. So again, this is the easterly track. This would put this whole area in, I would say. I will get our drawing out again. And like I said, this whole area right here would be dealing with the worst consequences of the storm with this track. All right, with the flooding and the wind damage and stuff. All right. But of course, the NAM is not available on this particular one. All right. But it is all very, very disturbing, to say the least. So see, looking at this one. And I'm going to look now at the Ventusky site as well. And we will now go and look at this on the Ventusky. And we'll move this ahead to... pull this out a little bit here. So I get to see the storm here. All right, let me move this to tomorrow. 9 p.m. 10 p.m. There it is, right here. There's Henri. There's just tomorrow night. Let me move this to Saturday. And it gets a lot stronger. Here we are Saturday. And this is using the ICON model. See, this is automatic ICON model. So you can see this is where it is. This is where Henri is. All right, wind speed, we could do wind gusts. Give us a little more of a realistic look here. And again, this is your hurricane right here. All right, let's go to Sunday. Oh, boy. All right, 3 a.m. Sunday. All right, Long Island, not doing too badly with the winds, but you can see the kind of winds. Very compact storm, all right? And here we are again, starting into it's a beautiful places, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, Cape. They're going to get destroyed. They're going to get destroyed. Here we are, 10 a.m. Sunday, and you can see they're dealing with winds of Category 1 hurricanes, Category 1 to Category 2 hurricane force winds. And again, this is the ICON model over the Cape, all right? And in Montauk, they're dealing with tropical storm force conditions on the east end. All right, I'm moving this to 1 o'clock now. And you can see the Cape just getting hammered. Boston starting to get hammered. And the water is just going to funnel in. This is going to really wreck the city of Boston. Like I said, this will be Boston's Sandy with this kind of setup here. All right, I don't know why it has the center over here like that. That I don't know. All right, moving this to 3 o'clock. You can see it's moving very slow. This slow movement, again, is also very bad because it just prolongs the storm. And we saw that with Sandy. All right. And you can see it's getting worse on Long Island because it's now starting to move northwestward. All right. And we're starting to see those winds pick up. Here we are at 7 o'clock. Now you're dealing with possible hurricane force conditions out on the east end. All right. Close to it. Very strong tropical storm force winds. All right. This is the ICON model. All right. This is 8 o'clock. All right. After that, the next frame is at 11. You can see it moves away by then. But it would, like I said, this whole general area, eastern Long Island, southern New England, would be just devastated. All right. It would be, this is the ICON model now. Going to the GFS. Let's go to the GFS. This is the GFS. And again, you can see GFS, 11 a.m. Let me get this over here. Move this to 5 a.m. So you can start to see some of the very strong winds here again. Even though there's cooler water, it's not going to be enough to weaken it. All right. Because the thing's going to be moving, and then once it gets close to us, that's when it puts on the brakes. Here's 11 a.m. All right. 50 miles an hour Montauk. And again, the Nantucket and the Cape just getting hammered right now. And it would really, this set up here would be very bad for southern New England and would cause some damage on the fork, but not as bad as the ICON models. The GFS, of all the scenarios, the GFS scenario is probably the most favorable for us. All right. But then we go and we look at, this doesn't do the waves, but you get an idea of what's going on here and where the storm is. And obviously, you still have a ways to go here, but that NAM is really scary. That NAM is really, really scary. And I'm going to go to it again. The NAM, I know somebody posted about it. I was kind of afraid to look at it. But this is the NAM 12 here. I don't know why the NAM 12 and the NAM 3, the NAM 3 and the NAM 12 look completely different here. I don't understand that. But either way, You actually would want to be in New Jersey if the NAM were to verify. You'd want to be in New Jersey. That's all I can say. You wouldn't want to be on Long Island with this kind of setup here. This would be really bad. And let's hope that this is just a fiction of the models and nothing that's actually going to happen. But the fact that it's showing this, and it's been showing consistently now for a few runs, is definitely quite concerning. So we keep an eye on this. Again, we go to the NHC, and this is very misleading. Again, it doesn't seem to have... I think Long Island... I think that line, this western part of the line, should be over New York City. I really do. I don't agree with that. I really don't. I think anybody on Long Island and New York City needs to prepare for the possibility of a hurricane. The further east you are, the more likely you are going to see effects from this. East End, all right? And, of course, eastern Connecticut, too. In New Jersey, less. Right now, the track, if you're in New Jersey, you may avoid a lot of this stuff. And, again, this, I think, needs to be extended. This thing needs to be extended further west. In my opinion, I don't agree with that. I really do. So we're going to have to watch this very, very, very closely. Obviously, we're looking at models. We're looking at... It all has to do with the setup in the upper atmosphere, all right? And this whole thing, we're going to go back to this here. And we're going to go to the upper air, which we know the NAM... This doesn't do here. I've got to go to the NAM 12 for that. There's 250 wind, all right? And the tilt of this trough here that you have, and the ridge over here is what pushes this thing back into the coast. All right. And you see it on the GFS, but it's shaped a little differently. So it keeps it just a little further east. Let me look at the ICON. The ICON doesn't do that for us. And again, this is the ICON solution, all right? And this would be bad for Long Island, too. But again, the worst impacts would be on the east end. But the fact that it hooks it northwestward, and it puts Boston in a very bad spot. A very bad spot. We could see a lot of flooding in Boston like Boston hasn't seen in a long time, if ever. So that's an area that's going to have to be concerned. But somewhere this thing is going to impact. The likelihood of it going out and not bothering anyone on the East Coast is right now very unlikely. And I think all of us in the Northeast are going to be impacted one way or another, even if you just get the rough surf and the coastal flooding. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. That's what I said last night. And this is, again, very concerning, very worrying. The models continue to do this. This is not a good setup to have. And we have to keep our eye on it. Lastly, we'll just leave you with a little bit of... we'll just go over the sky conditions. Obviously, we're not going to get that with the ICON. I'll go to the RGEM. The RGEM is also another model we could use as well. I only have the 18Z for that. RGEM is a little... RGEM is very slow in Far East, and I don't know if I'm even buying that at this point. But let me go to the NAM, and let me go to the... Look at the reflection on the NAM. You can see the eye. But anyway, let's just go to the NAM here, and we'll go over how much... We'll have a good deal of cloud cover tomorrow, maybe some sun. Saturday, probably a little more in the way of sun before all hell might break loose on Sunday. But we're going to have to keep an eye on this. Again, very concerning situation here with the chance of a monster storm like this making a direct. This is the worst. If it takes that left-hand turn right into Long Island, man, we are going to have major, major problems on Long Island. And it's going to make Sandy look like a walk in the park. That's all I'm going to say. South Shore is going to have a lot of flooding. We're going to have a lot of power outages and then the heat afterwards. So, I mean, this case scenario does wind up happening. Saturday night, I'm going to have to possibly evacuate Long Island and find a hotel room in New Jersey or further west somewhere else because I can't live without air conditioning. If this worst case scenario happens, let's hope it doesn't. But somebody is going to be suffering from this storm. Henri is likely to be one of the worst natural disasters the Northeast has ever seen. That's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching.